I got a hard question for you.
Go.
Americans have many misconceptions about Islam. For example, many people believe that most Muslims are Arabs and confuse the two terms. So you just talked about that a little bit, but I want you to say a little bit more. People also believe that Islam is a violent religion, which is not at all true. And Didi, you're right. That's not at all true. Mm-hmm. Which misconceptions are the most problematic for you, and how do you deal with them on a daily basis?
Yeah, none of them are a problem. Like, none of the misconceptions are a problem. And I'll tell you why. Because, again, it goes back to that bell curve. There's 10% of people who not only know that that's not true, but will actively fight these stereotypes. So you have the Didi Wolfarth who will say, that's obviously a misconception. First of all Muslims aren't in Saudi Arabia. The majority of Muslims are outside of the Arabic countries. Like, as a matter of fact, as a percentage, Malaysia has more Muslims in it than any of the other Muslim countries. But aside of all that, you have the other 10% who are going to hate you no matter what. But those are also the 10% who are going to hate all black people. You have 10% of the people who will just, they're scary dudes. So, like, as far as misconceptions are concerned, the most annoying one, I would say, is going to a movie and every time you see an Arab dude or a Muslim, he's portrayed as a terrorist. It's annoying. It's equivalent to take it back 40 years and every time there was a black person on screen, is a gangster. Mm-hmm. It's annoying. But most people understand that they can separate the two realities. They understand that, okay, this guy has a giant beard. This is a Muslim. No, it's not. It's not a terrorist. He's not trying to blow anything up today. Mm-hmm. Like, most people get that. So as far as misconceptions, like, no, most of it is cool.
Good.
Except when you're driving to work and then you have the, like, Confederate flag on the back with the send them all back or nuke the Middle East. That, again, that's terrifying. But I don't think you could reach that guy. I don't think you could have a conversation with that dude and say, hey, man, I think that's a misconception. Let me show you the literature on Muslims.
You said it was terrifying, like the nuke the Middle East.
Yeah.
You don't live in the Middle East. You're not from the Middle East. You don't have any family in the Middle East.
No.
Why is that terrifying for you?
Yeah, I don't want to blow up anyone. Like, first of all, I don't want to nuke anyone. One, two, I don't want you to nuke like innocent civilians, and that's not an effective military strategy. That's not how politics works. It's not geopolitics works. And if you blew up the Kaaba, like, do you really want to alienate 1.1 billion people in the world? Like, that's a silly thing. It's the same thing. It's the same arguments we had about drone strikes. Yeah. Again, as a topic for another podcast. But it just doesn't. It's not effective, and it's an inflammatory thing to have. It's essentially like we need to behead all Christians. It's like, geez, man, like,
harsh.
Wow.
Yeah. That makes sense for seeing anybody who holds an extremist point of view and, like, blatantly displays it.
Yes, it is the American ISIS. The guy with the Confederate flag says we need to nuke the Middle East. Like, goodness gracious, like, that's not what was crazy is that's not what all Americans believe. But I would imagine that Americans understand that, like, okay, that dude's just crazy. And we understand that, okay, that dude's just crazy. Mm-hmm. I just wish that all Americans understood that when we see ISIS, that's the same way that you guys see the Confederate guys, like, nuke the Middle East. Yeah. Like, it's like, these guys are monsters. Yeah. Like, that's
Have you grown, like, a kindred spirit to, like, people of the Middle East? Or is it anybody of Muslim?
Oh, yeah. So, Middle Eastern dudes, I don't know, it's half and half. So, it's like, there's some people who are highly devout. You have to imagine that in Islam, you have this camp of people who are just absolutely focused on the hereafter, absolutely focused on Islam, completely focused on obeying every single rule as best they can. And they have a sweetness about them that's just, it's almost strange. It's like they're glowing. It's like imagine if you had, as a Christian, if you had a conversation with a nun or like a priest, but not just a regular priest, one who was deep in the priesthood, like super deep, like just came out of the Vatican's library. And you said, hey man, what do you think about, like, fruits? Like, what's your favorite fruit? And it's like, oh, I just love every fruit that God has ever put on this earth. It's a different conversation because they're so focused on that it's like they will literally relate everything you say to them back to Allah, which is, it just shows, like, how much they love Allah, that it's like that's all of it that they focus on. And they lead to being, like, the sweetest of people to be around. We had that we did that thing where we ate at the restaurant with Amr Zachariah and a bunch of other Muslims when we first got married.
Yeah.
And it was really cool because they were sitting at the table and they were playing. One of them was playing with the children like for an hour and a half.
The whole time.
Yeah. And like
he just happened
faces.
to get seated at that end of the booth.
Yeah.
So like he was totally content with hanging out with the kids.
Yep. You had this teenager like making faces at the children and like throwing food back and forth. Like it's a different kind of person because you're at peace. So one of the things that Allah says is that hearts find peace in the remembrance of Allah. Like it's a thing that you're built for. It's a thing that you were meant to do. And this is it. And when you find it, you finally get peace. So imagine all of these things that you've done in the world. Every time you get it, you don't get the happiness that you expected with it, at least not for a long time. So one guy, Muhammad Hoblos, I wouldn't recommend YouTubing it because he's going to be yelling and it's going to scare you. But he had this one thing where he said that I wanted to get the Nintendo 64. And I knew that as soon as I get the Nintendo 64, I was going to be happy. I was going to be so happy as I couldn't possibly be any happier. So I begged my mom, I begged her to get it. And then I got it. I played it and it was amazing. I was like, it's the greatest thing. It's the best happiness I've ever had. And then the PlayStation came out and he was like, what is this? I can't play Nintendo 64 anymore. PlayStation's out. So he's like, all right, Mom, if you just give me a PlayStation, then I'll be happy. Like, I'll be as happy as you could possibly be. Like, please, just give me a PlayStation. So he gets the PlayStation, happy, stoked. This is the greatest thing ever. Until PlayStation 2 comes out. You gotta have that. Then a PlayStation 3. Then you have, it's like, what am I still gonna be playing games for? Like, I gotta get a car now. So he's like, gets the car. He got the car. This is awesome. But I mean, I gotta get married. Like, I need a woman. So he gets married. Then he's like, oh, I need a house. I mean, I have my wife. I need a house now. And every time he gets something, you have the happiness, and then it goes away. And what Allah says is that like a farmer waiting for his crop to come in. So you have to imagine that all of your things will brown. You'll watch them brown. So you'll have this crop and it's green and it's lush and it's the greatest thing ever. Then it turns yellow. All right. So it's like it's not as great as it used to be. Then it turns brown in the field, which means that it is like you ever walk in the forest and the stuff that crunches under your feet. That's what all of the things that you desire in this world become. Like, oh, I just want a car. And you get that car and like, it's the greatest thing ever at the time. Now just imagine there was a car that we all liked during our childhood. It was that car with the lights that came up, like, and it looked like your car had eyes. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So you get that, and it's like, this is the greatest thing ever. I'm on top of the world. Imagine if you got it back then. It's like, I'm a king. Imagine if you had it right now. That is the worst. That's brown. That's that brown crunchy stuff under your feet in the forest. It's nothing. So anyway, right. But you going back to Islam, that is what Islam is that is the thing that you were meant for. That's the thing that stays green forever. It stays sweet the whole time. It's not like the freaking PlayStation 1 or Nintendo 64. This is what you were meant for.
Never gets old for you.
Nope. I think that's it.
Very good.
Another question?
Nope, that's it.
All right, sweet. All right, shout out to D.D. Wolfarth who gave us the questions. I hope we didn't go too long. I think we were supposed to do 10 minutes.
Yeah, it went too long.
We did
way too long.
We did 50 minutes. So, yeah. I guess I'll chop it up into part 1, part 2.
Part 2.
Yeah, part 2.
Polyspsych podcast.
Yeah.
Polyspsych podcast.
All right, part 2 is the Polyspsych podcast. This show is Anthony Lindsay.
And Stephanie Moreno.
All right, so what does it mean to be a Muslim in America today? And along those same lines, what have your personal experiences been with being a Muslim?
All right, so I'm still really new at being a Muslim, and I am a revert from Christianity, born and raised in America. So a lot of my experiences have been personal and less with the interactions of the outside world. Not to say I'm a hermit, but a lot of the challenges I faced were personal. They were for me to deal with, and it was a lot about coming to terms and getting comfortable with myself, like in hijab and more modest clothing. I mean, I literally I kind of dove into the deep end. Like, I decided that was going to be the best way for it. I converted to Islam, and 2 months later, I was in full hijab and in the most modest clothes I owned at the time. I didn't have the money to get like the abayas and the burqas and stuff. Anyway, as you could tell, my outside appearance had a lot to do with the way I saw myself in the outside world. And the way that I believed other people saw me. So changing from, like I converted in the spring. So going from wearing tank tops and capri pants and flip flops and ponytails to long pants, long sleeve shirts and hijab. It was as if I immediately covered up and changed. Like Stephanie was no longer the Stephanie that everybody knew for the last 27 years. Now I was Stephanie the Muslim amongst North Carolinians. And I immediately felt like I belonged to an entirely different culture. However, I went to the mosque and I didn't belong to them either. I still had my American accent. I was still wearing jeans, which is not very popular at the mosque. You don't really do that as a female. You don't wear pants at the mosque. Well, I do because I'm also a mother of 2 boys. So I run around and am active, and I don't like to wear dresses all the time. And that's who I've always been. So it felt like coming into an in-between culture where I am this person of a particular faith. Only that particular faith requires that I not dress and appear the same as people of other faiths and cultures. So that played a huge part in, it was one of the challenges I faced in accepting myself and allowing myself to believe that the way I was dressed was right. And over time, I came to terms with that. Not only came to terms with it, but learned to love my job. Like I felt more, I noticed I was getting more respect. I was getting more like one-on-one interactions were clean. And, I no longer have to worry about catcalls, no longer have to worry about, people just coming up and having a casual conversation full of cussing and swearing and lewd language. Like everybody cleaned up their behavior around me, which was odd, but cool.
So that changing of the changing of the outside appearance, I think that's a huge obstacle for a lot of women who aren't Muslim, like, or contemplating becoming Muslim, but the giant wall they see before them is like, oh, you mean I can't wear this anymore?
Yeah.
So what is that?
For about 4 months, especially going into, like I said, I converted in the spring. So going into a southern summer, wearing full hijab and modest wear, like once again, like I'm still me, like I'm just because I'm Muslim, I'm still a person who very much loves the beach. I very much love going to the park. So it was like, I can't do any of these things anymore. No, that's not the case. I thought it was, but no. All it meant is now I go to the beach with my hair covered, and I roll my pants to my ankles and not up to my knees to cover, to clear the water.
So speaking of your clothing,
it seemed like a big deal for about 4 months until it was like, no, this isn't, women in hijab do everything that women not in hijab do, except walk around naked. Like we can't do that. Oh, shucks. But,
so no short shorts,
no short shorts, no spaghetti straps. I mean, these are things that were part of my everyday wardrobe. But I mean, again, I was 27 and it was coming to a time where like the booty shorts were not appropriate anyway as a mother of 2 and a wife. So I think it really becomes one of those things where you put it in perspective and you're not really giving up a whole lot. If when you start at first, it's like, I'm giving up everything. I'm changing who I am. But that's really just the shock factor. I think the initial change and adjustment period, which is normal for everybody. I think I had to end up forgiving myself for feeling a little bit resentful for having to do that at first. If I'm being honest, I was resentful at you at first for pushing me to put hijab on so quickly.
Oh, yeah.
I was thinking, maybe if I just waited a little while, then it would be an easier transition. That's not the case either. Whenever I chose to do it, it would have been a huge change.
Do you feel oppressed?
No, I'm not oppressed. No, I'm not oppressed. And I can see, as an American, I can see how one would wonder, is she doing all this stuff because some guy or some faith or some religion is telling her to? No. I have it on good authority based off of the many documentaries I've seen and my own personal experiences and a few people that I've talked to. Nobody has been forced to put a hijab on their head. Nobody has been forced to wear long sleeves and long clothes to cover their legs. This isn't something that we wish we didn't have to do, and we do now. Even me, when it was like still new for me, it was still my choice to do. I did it a little bit begrudgingly in the beginning because I had grown up a Southern water baby in, tank top shorts and swimsuits. But as it became a lifestyle choice and as I grew in my love for Allah and my desire to please him, it's the only entity I choose to please and serve.
I wonder why some people will see a Muslim woman in a hijab and immediately think like oppressed or like this is it, versus like if you saw a nun in her nun like outfit, you wouldn't say, oh, oppressed.
You think devout.
Yeah,
it's the first word that comes to mind.
Why wouldn't Muslim women be considered devout? That's unfortunate.
It's a lot of talk. There's a lot of talk right now ever since like Islamophobia and terrorism and all this stuff that's happening that says that Muslim women dress the way they dress and they behave the way they do because the men in that world force them to. No.
I'm sure there's some. Like if you go to Yemen or Syria or somewhere.
That is a culture thing. That is not an Islam thing. They may have derived some of their rules from Islam, but they've been perverted. Perversions of a faith are not exclusive to Islam. And neither should all Muslims be lumped into that category. Like,
you don't lump all Christians in with like the Westboro Baptist Church or the Klan.
And not all Muslim men are like beating their wives and cheating on them or taking a bunch of wives for no reason. Like the rules that are in place to protect women and to lift them up out of what was a once oppressed society. Like in the Prophet, peace be upon him's time, women were oppressed. Women didn't have the right to their own property. Once they were married, it became their husbands. They couldn't get a divorce. They couldn't do anything basically without the man's say so. And they were either under the control of their husband or their father or other male guardian with zero rights to even their bodies. They were told what to wear. They were told to dress the way that, however the man wanted them to dress, which could be as scantily or as covered as possible. People don't think about the scantily part. That there was a time where women were not allowed. They were put in harems and told to wear very minimal clothing for the pleasure of the man. And so here comes like the hadith of the Prophet, peace be upon him, in the Quran, saying, women, wear what is good for you. Wear what will protect your honor. And when you walk on the street, you'll be respected. It's not to say, it's no judgment to be passed along among anyone who chooses to wear whatever they want to wear. It's just to say that the Muslim woman who chooses to dress the way she dresses is not doing so because she's oppressed. She's doing so because she has a deep, fervent belief that it's good for her.
I was going to ask you about the misconceptions, but that seems like the biggest one is people look at you and say you're oppressed.
Yeah.
Which one's the most problematic for you?
As far as hurtful, I think the biggest problem I have is being in that in-between stage of not being, I'm not Arab or of Middle Eastern descent of any kind. Therefore, belonging to the Muslim community, I don't really feel like that. Like I do yet. I don't speak Arabic. I really do I still wear a lot of American clothing. Yeah. I just wear it in a different way now.
You not fitting in with the women at the mosque.
Yeah.
Is like your biggest.
That hurts. But what bothers me is just kind of maybe it's the introvert in me. I just thought about that. Like the fact that I kind of feel like I stick out like a sore thumb and I never have before. I'm just not a flashy, like stand out in a crowd kind of person. And I've loved that. I'm okay with that. I go into the mall and fade in with the crowd and just surf the crowd through the mall and it's fine. But like now I look different from, the other 30 people around me. I am the only person that looks like this. And it's just uncomfortable because I can't go over to the next person who does look like me because we still may not have anything in common. Mm-mm. It's an adjustment, I guess.
That's interesting. That's I wonder if that's going to fade, because that's the exact same experience that I had.
I'm sure it will.
Being like a 6'4".
It's already faded.
Yeah?
It's already faded a bunch since, 3 months after converting. Also, I say 3 months because that was, I had a really hard time, like 3 months after, because it was 2 months after that I put a job on, and a month after that I was experiencing the life in it. So it was a really hard time for me.
I wonder if we can change, when we change communities, if that'll like fix it entirely. You may not fit in with the Muslims in Charlotte, North Carolina, but I feel like once we go to Maryland and you're in Annapolis, Maryland, and 3/4 of the Muslims there, the Muslim women there, look like you and speak like you and act like you, and are also introverts. I wonder if like it'll be like some
might consider it like I don't know, shallow-minded or whatever to want to, but I think it's a natural and normal thing for people to gravitate towards like-minded people. It's strange, but
oh yeah, I know.
Okay, like we're an interracial couple. Mm-hmm. We both know. Oh yeah. But it's a different level of knowing because it's a new like plateau. It's a new phase that we're embarking on together. I'm Hispanic and white, but I've never really had a group that that's what I mean. I'm very vanilla at heart. So like I've fit in with almost any group except for this Middle Eastern Muslim lady group. They're
just like they're a closed group. So like the Muslim women in general like are fairly closed, but the Muslim men as well are fairly closed off, where like they may speak to you, but like they're not necessarily inviting you in or whatever. But again, I think that's community specific. I think if we say you and I go to when we go to Saudi Arabia, like we're gonna stick out like sword. You know what? I can't even say that if we go for the pilgrimage, because no one looks like the next person next to them.
I don't think anyone's gonna be looking at my face.
Everyone's gonna be different. Mm-hmm. But like if we went to Egypt, we'll stick out like sore thumbs. But I think it'll be in a good way. I think literally everyone will try to invite us in. Where it's like, oh, you're like the odd one. You're an American. Like it's not like you. It's like the group is far removed. So like people are more curious than like closed off, I would imagine. But again, it just so happens that the Muslims here and the Muslim women here are more closed off.
This answering these questions is kind of fun because it gives me a little bit of insight into my own self and some things to think about for how I want to interact with the outside world as well. Like maybe if I drop it, like what we were talking about, if I just give myself permission to be different and give others permission to either be curious or standoffish about me, then like maybe that'll help my demeanor to be more approachable anyway. Maybe it's something about my demeanor that says like, oh, I don't fit in. So maybe I'm subconsciously pushing myself out. Yeah,
you're already uncomfortable.
Yeah,
so, yeah, maybe because you have a guy like Bert Kreischer who like walks into any party and is like,
he doesn't fit with every group, but he makes himself fit. I think it's a matter of like personality. But then again, he's an extrovert. I almost said outrovert.
All right, that's it. I think that's it for this part. All right, thanks for listening to Polypsych Podcast. Go to iTunes or Player FM and subscribe to the show. You can see all of our shows on polypsych.org or wherever you get your podcasts. Player FM, Podcast Addict, iTunes, wherever. All right, later.
Bye.